Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Dear friends, just before coming over here, a number of us, I guess a couple of hundred, had dinner together down at the hotel. And as I walked into the dining room, an old-time friend came up and he said, "Bill, it's good to see you back home." I think he had no idea of how much that moved me, of what recollections it stirred. In its fourth year, 4 years after Dr. Bob and I met, the AA book came out. And the last chapter of the text, you remember, is titled, "A Vision for You." At that time, we boasted 100 members, and I think maybe it was a boast. We were virtually unknown, and yet in this book, The Vision for You, while none at that time could say that he was a prophet, we did express some hopes. And in leafing through that chapter this afternoon, I read you one, and with this content I would like you to contrast AA today with the hope expressed here. This short paragraph says, "Someday, we hope that every alcoholic who journeys will find a fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous at his destination." To some extent, this is already true. Some of us are salesmen, and we go about. Little clusters of 2s and 3s and 5s of us have sprung up in other communities. And those who travel drop in as often as we can. This practice enables us to lend a hand. At the same time, avoiding certain alluring distractions of the road about which any traveling man can inform you. That was written 4 years after the beginning, here at home, our spiritual home. Well, it's come true. And it comes truer with every passing year. Sometimes we don't like cliches, but there's one that's most appropriate nowadays. The sun never sets upon the Society of Alcoholics Anonymous. We are 350,000 strong, maybe 500,000. Nobody knows. We speak many languages. We are of all races, creeds, religion, bound together in this kinship of a common suffering and a common recovery under the grace of a bounteous God. So we here tonight are returned home to think again about the days of our beginning. Lois and I never failed to come here, and I must observe that it was with great disappointment she couldn't come, a sudden but not serious illness. But of course we never come here without asking that we be driven up to see the house of Dr. Bob and Ann on Ardmore, and thence down Portage Path to see the gatehouse where Henrietta Seiberling brought us together, and thence down to the house of T. Henry Williams, where he and Clarissa, in the old Oxford group time, took us in, and to King's School, AA's #1 group. We do this because the experience of returning home is something that every human being treasures, and all the greater because so many have gone out from this home, and there have been started little clusters of 2 and 3. I would like to leave with you a word picture of such a cluster that not long since, a brief 5 years ago, started in a foreign country. An AA called Ryan went down there. He spoke Spanish. He started an insurance business. The alcoholism was very bad in this little country the size of a postage stamp. And people flocked in, as they had never before, to AA, because the need was so awful. The drugstores sold grain alcohol, a bad and toxic kind of stuff. No tax. It was cheaper, literally, to drink than to eat. So they flocked around in 2s and 3s and 5s, and that was only 5 years ago. And as maybe Alan, who will speak at breakfast tomorrow, will tell you, he's been down there, this has suddenly expanded into thousands of members. Some say 10,000, some 5. What does it matter? And this is the succession And these are the kind of fruits that it has borne to others throughout the world. So let me address myself just for a couple of minutes to the memory of Dr. Bob and Ann and Henrietta and T. Henry and Bill D., AA number 3. You remember I arrived in this town on a business venture. It was a proxy row for control of what was then a little company in this town. The fight fell through. My associates were of the come lately variety. All my old friends in Wall Street were gone. So they also went. I was left in the Mayflower Hotel with $10 in my pocket. Prior to this, I'd worked very hard back home with drunks, Oxford group people. Had a mission. We worked there, worked at Towns Hospital where my doctor was. Absolutely no result. And looking back, I see that I was still preaching to people. But all of a sudden in the lobby of the hotel down there, I had my first temptation to drink since sobering up. And it suddenly dawned upon me that I might, while I had been granted by God a rebirth, it had been the effort to help others that had kept me sober. So I suddenly knew that if I were to stay sober, I needed to find another alcoholic in this town. So I looked down the church directory. There was a name, Walter Tunks, who turned out to be the Episcopal rector here. It was a little odd sounding, and whimsically I picked it out. Providentially, I think, too. And this good man directed me to another, a member of the Oxford groups here at the time, and he in turn gave me a list of about 10 names. And I began to call them up. Well, it was a weekend. I couldn't make any immediate dates for that day. Somebody I had to see right then. At the end of the list was the name Henrietta Seiberling. And I thought, well, gracious, I met the old gentleman one time, and I can't possibly go out to this lady's home telling her I'm looking for a drunk to work on. This will never do. I walked up and down that lobby again. And a voice came saying, you had better make that call. I went upstairs and made the call, and here was Henrietta's delightful southern voice on the wire. And she said, I'm no drinker, but I think I understand. Won't you come straight out here? How much we owe our friend. And to a stranger, she said this. So out I went. Said she, I think I know just the man. It's Dr. Bob. He and his wife Ann are in a terrible situation. He's desperately tried to get over his drinking. I'll call them up. She did. Ann's voice came on the wire. Said, Ann, it's the day before Mother's Day, you know, Henrietta. And Dr. Bob has just come home. He has brought with him a potted plant. It's on the table. but he's on the floor, and I'm afraid he can't get up, so we won't be there today. So, nothing daunted, Henrietta said, well, so what about tomorrow? Now, she said, Bill, you come out here to dinner, and let's see. So, on the morrow, at 5 in the afternoon, Dr. Bob and Ann stood in the door. And he did not look in the least like a founder. He was shaking like hell. And he said, eyeing me, he said, you know, I can only stay a few minutes. I have an appointment. So by way of identification, I thought, well, I know, Bob, no question, you're very thirsty, am I right? He was. Discreetly, Henrietta moved us into the little library. And we sat there and talked for hours. And right there, the whole character of what I had been doing back home changed. I thought to myself, I need this man as much as he needs me. And I so told him. Well, Dr. Bob in spiritual matters was far advanced on me. But as far as the drinking was concerned, it hadn't taken hold. Yet as a doctor, like so many, he had no idea that he was a sick man. And I acquainted him with that. Ann asked me to come over to the house and stay with them while I tried to carry on with this proxy jingle. Bob made one trip to Atlantic City, and it was hard for Ann to let him go, and sure enough, he came home boiled. There was a terrible dilemma. He had to sober up. He had to do a critical operation within 2 days or 3. So around the clock, Annie and I tapered him down. And we took him shivering up to the city hospital. Handed him 1 bottle of beer and 1 goofball, and he went in to carve up this patient. Well, you can imagine how we felt as we sat outside in the car. After a while, he came out. He said, I'm going to take you folks home. I have some errands to do. Hours later, after a lot of worry on our part, he turned up. He had already started to make restitution to those he had harmed. And he never took a drink from that day on. And then he said, but working on other people is a big thing, isn't it? I'll call up the city hospital. Maybe they got some cases. He'd been on the staff, but I believe he'd been kicked off. He called up a nurse he knew. He said, there's a gent here from New York that has been helping me, and we'd like some drunks to work on. And the nurse said, with some asperity, well, Dr. Bob, I hope you bought this idea yourself. He said, we've got a beaut. She did. Just came in here. He's in DT. He's strapped down. But before we got him strapped, he blacked the eyes of one of the nurses. He's been in here 4 times in the last 6 months. How's that? Bob said, that's a dandy. Here's the way to medicate him. We'll be down tomorrow. On the morrow, there was the man on the bed. We walked in. We told him the story, and he said, well, it's too late for me. But he says, won't you come back again? Yes, Bill, we'll come back again, we said. Next morning we came down. There was his wife, Henrietta, standing by the bed. Bill looked at us. Henrietta said, these are the fellas that understand. Now listen to what they have to say. So we went over it again. And Bill said, Henrietta, please fetch me my clothes. We're going home now. Bill never took another drink. And so God had wrought the first AA group in the world. And the magnificent sequel to this in this town, you know. Bob's association with Sister Ignatius. She and he ministering to 5,000 cases in the ensuing 10 years. From 1940 at St. Thomas. After his death, she ministering to another 10,000 cases. Indeed, I think it's altogether proper to say that these two were the prince and the princesses of 12 steps, and never will there be any more like them. I'm taking too much time. God bless you and Alcoholics Anonymous forever. I'm glad we're here at home together.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.